Hello, and welcome back to Purposeful Woman podcast. And today we have Jennifer Koster. Jennifer is a serial entrepreneur, a startup investor, conscious leadership expert, humanitarian, author, wife, and mother who is deeply committed to changing the world. In her entrepreneurial and investor activities, her ventures commingle real world business needs with consciousness in the ways that can create a real positive change and solve a real problems. Hi and welcome, Jennifer.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming over. I would love to hear your story. How did you start it on what you are doing right now?
Well, I had a bit of a journey. Like many, I took the typical what I call the society route, where you basically go and you get the good education and find the good job and do all the stuff that you think you're supposed to do that's supposedly going to make you successful in life. And I had a couple, I had two different instances. In the first version of my career, I was in the dot-com sector and did really well, insanely fast, and lost it just as fast. And that rise and fall kind of hit the reset button on me to really sort of reevaluate my life and start going in a different direction. And so I did that for a while. I was, had a couple of years where I was building myself back up and went out of technology and into construction of all things. Kind of, that's a much longer story. I won't bore you with the details on that, but went into construction and for a while just sort of toyed with different things because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And the problem was that I was so convinced that what makes us successful, what makes us happy is having success financially. And skip forward, I spent a number of years running a successful and still running a successful construction company in Los Angeles doing high net worth homes, high end residential properties for high net worth people, and sort of got burnt out by the whole thing. It was great. It was lucrative. It did its purpose on that front of, providing a nice lifestyle and providing great contacts and relationships and so on. But it was kind of dissatisfying to the point that I knew I wasn't living in alignment with my purpose. And I knew that my passion was elsewhere. I've always been a writer since I can remember. I mean, I've kept journals since I was probably 9 years old, just about everything from what I wanted to do. And I found a journal actually recently when we were moving when I was 11 years old, basically talking about that I wanted to save the world and save animals and do all these wonderful things. And so about 3 years ago, I woke up and just decided, yeah, I'm not this whole thing about chasing money and, always having the bigger and better and the next holiday and everything just wasn't doing it for me. And now that I'm a mother, I'm a lot more conscious of these things and what I want my children to grow up with. And I grew up with a father who was traveling all the time and who had the big job and the big career, and I never saw him. So I decided that my kids deserve better. So I took a really big step back and had a lot of, it took me a long time actually to unwind from the craziness of that and kind of go, okay, let's focus on what actually matters. And so for the last couple of years, I've been finally peeling myself away from the day-to-day of the construction and focusing on my book. So I've been writing a book called The Truth About Baggage, which is all about this journey that we go through of discovering all of the stuff that we're impacted by and what makes us who we are, and doing a really solid introspective into trying to figure out what we really want. Because most of the time when you end up in your 30s or 40s, you start realizing, wow, you begin to feel like you've been living somebody else's life. And it's because most of us actually have been. We've been living what we thought was society, what the societal norm, or what our parents expected of us, or what our culture was accepted in our culture or a religion. So yeah, so that was the shift into my writing.
Oh, I love that. And when I share my story, I always say I was living an American dream, but it was somebody else's dream.
Yeah,
And it feels
exactly.
like when you said that, sometimes it's just not ours, and it's just so relevant. I feel for a lot of people, and who has been chasing money since I was young as well. And then there's
Yeah.
the shift happening, which is beautiful, and it's led us to have you as a writer now, which I
Yes.
would love to learn more about. What do you think? you could do differently? Let's say if you can give yourself advice like 5 years ago, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, move sooner. I think that's always the mistake that we make, is that we put things off and put things off. And, even, we're living in Europe now. I was living in Los Angeles for 13 years, and I wanted to leave sooner. And it just, now looking back, it's like, why didn't I? Why didn't I just make that leap? And of course, it's that same sort of thing that holds us back from making the same thing that holds everybody back: a little bit of fear coupled with a little bit of uncertainty, and just that feeling of, oh, what's going to happen over there? I know what happens here. I know that I'm safe in this spot. And, if I go over there, maybe I'm not safe. Maybe it's not financially secure. Maybe it's not all great. And that's sort of the reality. And actually, for me now, that's sort of the fun in life, is having that little bit of uncertainty. And the irony is, I've always been a risk taker. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 19. So I've always been someone that's pretty readily able to jump into new things. But this whole thing of like the bravery of actually putting my voice out there and really taking all these years of knowledge and experience and the ups and the downs and the emotional trauma and putting it out there was really difficult for me to just commit to that. So it's definitely been a process. It's a process I really go into in my book as a method of helping other people understand how to do that for themselves.
Beautiful. I love it. All right. So, what will be your number one advice then now from your expertise or whatever you would like to share with our audience?
So the number one advice, and this is actually from a lot of the work that I've done with men: don't be afraid to look inside. We have so much knowledge and so many things that have happened to us, around us, or through our lives. And to gain that really deep understanding of yourself and your passion and your purpose, you have to look inside. You have to look at all those things to try to understand how you got to where you are today. And I find that so many people are afraid to look inside. And, there's a lot of quotes like, the past is the past, keep going forward. I actually completely disagree with that. I agree that the past is the past. We can't change it, but we can learn a lot from it. And we lose a lot by not taking the opportunity to learn from it and move forward in an informed way. Because if you move forward in a way that you're kind of going, I'm just going to pretend all that stuff just isn't there, it's just back there, but we're going to keep on trucking, it will eventually catch up to you, and you will eventually understand that it's manifesting itself in some little sneaky way in your life, whether it's fear or, anger or addictions or whatever it might be. There's some little sneaky way it's manifesting itself.
Oh, absolutely. Love it and love it, love it, love it. And the last question, that it's more of a filling the blank question that I always ask on my podcast, it's for you to fill out the end, which just sounds like it. If you really knew me, you will know that I am
Oh, a big dork. I'm a big nerd. Yeah, I'm like, I should have been on Big Bang Theory. I love science, and I love, a big part of my book research has been studying the brain and how it works and talking to some fairly well-known psychologists. So that's been kind of, the discovery for myself is the nerd part.
I love the nerd part. I am a big nerd about brains and the body, how the body function. So what would you share with our audience today? Could you please share with us? Tell us where to find you, and we will link everything as well. But
yeah, so the best place to find me is on Instagram, and it's Jennifer Koster. That's JenniferKoster, and then _writer.
beautiful, and we will link everything in the show notes. Definitely go there and grab that Instagram link over there. Thank you so much, Jennifer, and thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode. And as always, you can text us with your interesting questions and feedbacks to +1 401 399 4105. And thank you. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.